The air shattered with a scream that sliced through the serene morning like a blade. On the porch of a tidy colonial home, Clara Hensley clutched her swollen belly, her face contorted in pain and terror as she stumbled backward, shoved by a man in a tactical vest marked with a frayed HOA enforcement patch. Her bare feet caught on the edge of a welcome mat, and she fell, tumbling down the short stone steps. Her coffee mug exploded into ceramic shards on the brick path. Pain seared through her, but the fear for the life inside her was a sharper wound. Her husband, Lucas, was inside, flipping pancakes, unaware of the chaos erupting just beyond the front door. But the sound of her scream reached him, and in that instant, the world tilted. It was one of those spring mornings that felt like a promise crisp, golden, alive with the hum of a waking neighborhood. Birds trilled in the ancient maples lining the quiet cul-de-sac. Sunlight glinted off parked cars, and a sprinkler whispered in the distance, stitching the air with its gentle rhythm. Clara, 7 months pregnant, had been standing barefoot on the porch, savoring the warmth of her decaf coffee, watching 2 kids across the street scribble dragons with neon chalk. Her hand rested on her belly, feeling the faint kick of her daughter, a reminder of the future they were building. Inside, Lucas's voice drifted out, humming an old rock tune as bacon sizzled. Everything was perfect, until it wasn't. The low growl of an engine broke the spell. A black SUV, sleek and menacing, prowled into the street, its tinted windows swallowing the morning light. No plates, no markings. It stopped dead in front of their driveway, idling with a predator's patience. Clara's smile faded. The doors swung open, and 2 men stepped out, their boots thudding with deliberate weight. Both wore black tactical vests over pressed shirts, cheap sunglasses, and patches that screamed authority, but the stitching was uneven, amateurish. One carried a clipboard. The other had a walkie-talkie clipped to his chest. Clara's eyes narrowed. She knew every inch of this neighborhood, every mailbox and pet name. There was no HOA here. Never had been. The shorter man, stocky with a buzz scalp and a jaw that twitched like a live wire, strode toward the porch. His partner, taller and leaner, hung back by the SUV, scrolling on his phone. "Ma'am," the short one barked, "you're in violation of HOA Code 42 landscaping noncompliance." Clara blinked, her grip tightening on her mug. "Who are you?" she asked, voice steady but edged. "We don't have an HOA. This block voted it down a decade ago." He didn't flinch. "Step aside, ma'am. This is a flag violation zone. Noncompliance escalates to fines or seizure." His tone was robotic, rehearsed, but his eyes gleamed with something darker control. Clara's heart quickened. "You're trespassing," she said, stepping back. "I'm pregnant. My husband's inside. Leave. Now." The man smirked, closing the distance in a single stride. Before she could react, his hand shot out, shoving her shoulder hard. She stumbled, her foot snagged, and she fell, crashing onto the bricks with a sickening thud. Pain bloomed in her side, but her arms wrapped instinctively around her belly. The baby. Oh God, the baby. The world blurred shouts from a neighbor, a dog's frantic bark, the shatter of her mug. Then footsteps. Heavy, purposeful. Lucas burst through the screen door, his apron still tied, a spatula in one hand. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. One look at Clara crumpled on the ground, her face pale with fear, and something in him snapped not rage, but a cold, lethal clarity. Lucas wasn't just a high school history teacher anymore. He was a former Army Ranger, trained to neutralize threats with surgical precision. And these men were threats. The short man, still on the porch, turned, oblivious to the storm approaching. "Sir, this isn't official," Lucas cut him off, voice low and deadly. "You pushed my wife." The taller man by the SUV looked up, frowning. "We're HOA enforcement." "Back off." Lucas didn't stop walking. "We don't have an HOA," he said, his tone flat, his eyes locked on the short one. "Did you touch her?" The man scoffed, puffing out his chest. She resisted. "You're both in violation. Step back, or—" Lucas was on him in a heartbeat. He didn't run, didn't flail. His movements were deliberate, like a predator closing in. He grabbed the man's vest, yanking him down a step, their faces inches apart. "Last chance," Lucas growled. "Who are you?" The man shoved Lucas's chest, a weak attempt at dominance. That was his mistake. Lucas's arm snapped forward, not a fist but an elbow, driving upward into the man's jaw with a crack that echoed like a gunshot. The man's eyes rolled back, his body collapsing into the flower bed, crushing Clara's petunias. He was out cold, blood trickling from his mouth. Gasps rippled through the gathering neighbors. A phone flashed, recording. Lucas didn't pause. He turned to the taller man, who was fumbling with his walkie. "Code 3, need backup." Lucas crossed the lawn in 3 strides, ducked a panic swing, and twisted the man's arm behind his back. With a fluid motion, he hurled him over the garden path, straight into the small fountain at the center of their yard. Water erupted, the stone mermaid tipping sideways as the man flailed, soaked and sputtering. "You trespassed," Lucas said, standing over him. "You hurt my wife. Stay down." Clara, still on the ground, felt a neighbor's hand on her shoulder. "Mrs. Callahan," the retired nurse from next door. "You okay, sweetheart?" she asked, her voice trembling with anger. Clara nodded shakily. "The baby's moving. I think we're okay." Her eyes stayed on Lucas, who knelt beside her, brushing hair from her face. "You're safe now," he whispered, his voice breaking for the first time. She clung to his hand, tears spilling as relief flooded her. Sirens wailed, cutting through the chaos. By the time the first police cruiser screeched to a halt, the cul-de-sac was a spectacle, neighbors spilling from their homes, phones raised, voices buzzing. The man in the fountain sat drenched, hands half raised in surrender. His partner lay motionless in the dirt, jaw swollen, blood staining the mulch. Officer Ramirez, a local veteran who knew Lucas from the community softball league, stepped out, taking in the scene. "Jesus, Lucas," he muttered, then raised his voice. "Everybody back up. Now." Mrs. Callahan stood, waving Ramirez over. "Those 2 assaulted Clara. Claimed they were HOA cops." "We don't have an HOA." Ramirez crouched beside Clara, his face softening. "Can you talk, Clara?" She nodded, voice shaky. "He shoved me down the steps. I landed on my side. The baby's okay," but her voice cracked. Ramirez radioed for medics, then turned to Lucas. "Walk me through it." Lucas stood, still holding Clara's hand. "They pulled up, said they were HOA enforcement. No HOA here, you know that." One pushed Clara. "I stopped them." Ramirez glanced at the unconscious man, then the fountain. "Stopped them with a knockout and a swim," he said dryly. "They touched my pregnant wife," Lucas replied, unapologetic. Ramirez sighed. "I'd have done the same." More cruisers arrived, along with an ambulance. Medics checked Clara first, confirming the baby's heartbeat was strong. "You're lucky," one said, her eyes misty. Clara squeezed Lucas's hand. "I know." The crowd grew. Mr. Nguyen with his rake, kids filming, a woman crying softly. A teenage girl shouted, "It's on video!" The whole thing, the footage already streaming online, showed the shove, the punch, the splash of raw, unfiltered saga of justice. Ramirez's partner, Officer Chun, held up a cracked phone from the SUV. "You need to see this." The device revealed a chilling truth. Photos of homes, families, schedules. Widow, lives alone, leaves by 9 a.m. No security system, back door unlocked. Videos of the men laughing, planning. Code 42B always works. They never check. It wasn't a prank. It was a scam, a predatory scheme targeting the vulnerable elderly, single parents, anyone who wouldn't fight back. Until now. Ramirez shook his head. They've hit other neighborhoods. Brookside, Maple Grove. Mostly seniors. A neighbor stepped forward. "My aunt in Maple Grove paid them $300 for fence violations. She's 78. Lucas's jaw tightened. "What happens now?" Ramirez met his eyes. "They're done. Impersonation, assault, fraud, conspiracy. This is big. Federal big." The man in the fountain stammered, "We didn't mean to hurt anyone." Ramirez crouched beside him. You pushed a pregnant woman. You're lucky you're still breathing. The crowd erupted in applause not for violence, but for the end of a lie. Mrs. Callahan clapped first, then others joined, a wave of defiance against the fake authority that had invaded their lives. By evening, the story was everywhere. Doorbell footage hit social media, captioned, "Fake HOA thugs mess with wrong Marine." The punch, the splash, Clara's phallus spread like wildfire. Comments flooded in. This is why we need men like him. I'd have done worse. That's not a fight. It's love. A veteran wrote. He moved like a man who's seen combat. Calm. Deadly. Respect. By Monday, news vans lined the street, but Lucas and Clara stayed inside, shielding their peace. The investigation unraveled a network. The ringleader, Victor Crane, a former security guard turned extortionist, ran Civic Order LLC, a shell company with fake badges and websites. Over 40 victims, mostly elderly, had paid thousands in fines. Crane was arrested at a motel, his laptop opened to a spreadsheet of targets. The two men, Paul Decker and Ryan Holt, faced charges of assault, impersonation, and racketeering. Decker, his jaw wired shut, pleaded guilty. Holt took a plea deal, spilling everything. Clara, recovering, began journaling, her words a quiet rebellion. She wrote of the violation, the fear, but also the strength she found in Lucas's resolve. Neighbors rallied, forming a watch group. Mrs. Callahan printed Know Your Rights flyers. A lawyer offered free consultations for scam victims. The trauma had forged something Nawa community that refused to be prey. Weeks later, Clara gave birth to a girl, named Hope not for the headlines, but for the moment Lucas stood between her and fear. They brought her home, past a fountain, now repaired but scarred, a mermaid leaning slightly askew. Lucas added a plaque. Here fell deceit. May courage endure. One evening, a boy left a drawing by the fountain, a mermaid tossing a man into the water. Clara laughed, cradling hope. Your daddy's no superhero, she whispered. He's just a man who knows when to fight. In court, Decker and Holt faced Judge Elena Voss, a no-nonsense woman with a reputation for cutting through lies. This wasn't a mistake, she said, her voice steel. You preyed on trust, on fear. You harmed a pregnant woman in her sanctuary. Decker got 7 years. Holt, 2, plus community service. Voss looked at Clara. Your courage exposed them. This court thanks you. Clara nodded, her hand in Lucas's. The Reynolds Act, inspired by their case, passed, mandating verified credentials for enforcement agents. Neighborhoods posted signs, no fake badges. Apps emerged to check IDs. The story faded from the news, but its echo lingered. One morning, Clara found a note by the fountain. You gave me back my voice. As autumn settled in, Lucas winterized the fountain, the water stilled. Clara stepped outside, hope in her arms, her tiny fist curled. Remember the silence? Clara asked. Lucas nodded. After the splash, when the world held its breath. She smiled. That's when I knew we'd won. They stood by the plaque, the cul-de-sac quiet again, but stronger. Hope stirred, and Clara whispered, Fall hard, rise harder. The truth had risen, and no lie could take that away. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this VY Deo with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next VY Deo.